Beardo Banjo.
Hello there everyone and welcome to May, or as I like to call it, the dry, dusty, desolate desert devoid of any meaningful video game releases. And I'm not just talking about VR here. May through to the end of July is a typically quiet period for big chunky new video games coming out, and that's primarily because most of the devs and publishers are starting to build our hype and get us all excited for Q3 and Q4 and the games that we're going to be playing this Christmas and beyond. Things like E3, things like Summer Games Fest, and just recently the Meta Quest Gaming Showcase. So now is the time for most devs to start building us up and getting us excited, which means there aren't a huge amount of big, meaningful titles releasing over the next 3 months. But there are still some titles. So today, we're going to be having a little look at all the VR games coming out in May over the next kind of 2, 3, 4 weeks time and rounding up which ones you should be keeping an eye on. There are still a few. There's still a few gems. We've got a couple of mods, a couple of Quest 2 games, a couple of PC VR games. So there's something, but there aren't really any big, heavy hitters. Let's have a little look at all the games coming out in May in the VR realm. First up on the 4th of May is the gorgeous and surreal looking Shores of Loci, or Loci. I'm not entirely sure. This is a single player puzzle game with a narrative that actually reminds me a lot of some existing VR properties. There's an element of mist about the trailers. It looks very magical and mysterious. The presentation is unlike anything I've ever seen, and it has got a very surreal style. It also reminds me a lot of Puzzling Places. Part of the core concept of this game seems to be rebuilding a world that's been destroyed for one reason or another, and the actual act of piecing together the lands that have been destroyed looks very, very similar to Puzzling Places, which is another VR game that everyone should go and check out, especially if you like jigsaw puzzles. I don't know a huge amount about Shores of Loci, or Loci, but it's out on the 4th of May for Quest via App Lab and PC VR via Steam, and if you're into puzzle-driven narrative single-player adventures, this is one to check out. If you're the kind of person who prefers balls-to-the-wall high-octane action, then good news. The very next day, on the 5th of May, Fracked finally comes to PC VR. Now, I played this game to completion on PlayStation VR when it came out last year. It's been a PlayStation VR exclusive ever since, and I absolutely adored it. It had some fantastic set pieces, a gorgeous cel-shaded art style, and one of the most enjoyable cover mechanics that I've ever experienced in a VR shooter. However, it was massively held back by the PlayStation Move controllers, those dreaded Move controllers that are now hugely out of date. nDreams did the best they could to make the game feel good, and they succeeded, for the most part, with the tech that they had. But now that this game is available on PC VR, or soon to be available on PC VR, we can play with some proper motion controllers and see the game in a higher resolution in all its glory. This one is going to be big for fans of single-player shooters without too much nuance. It really is just a run and gun shooter with some fantastic parkour sections. But yeah, check out Fracked, a great action adventure shooter coming on the 5th of May. Have you ever wanted to be the host of your own radio station? I certainly haven't. I actually can't think of many things worse. But if you have, if that's something you've wanted all your life, then good news. Area Man Lives is a brand new VR game coming on the 12th of May, which allows you to do just that. You play as a small town radio host who gets caught up in a mystery, and you need to solve the mystery by reaching out to callers and interacting with the environment around you. Now, this game reminds me a huge amount of Firewatch from the trailer. I'm sure you'll know what I mean. Just the aesthetic is very, very Firewatch. But there's two things that really excite me about this game. First off, it has a stellar voice cast. One of the voices is Joel McHale from Community, and I absolutely love Community, so immediately I have to play this game. The second thing that really excites me is you have to use your own voice to interact with elements in this game. You have to actually act out being a radio host or radio presenter in this game. You have a script to read, you have things you need to say, and that's exciting. It's a new way to play a VR game that I haven't seen before personally, and I can't wait to check it out. Area Man Lives launching on the 12th of May for Quest and PC VR. City building games, for me at least, are usually quite stressful. Managing things like sewage and electricity and pollution and natural disasters can be a lot of fun, but sometimes you just want to switch off your brain and relax and unwind and watch as your city grows in front of you. Something where it's a little bit more hands-off and a little bit more passive. On the 12th of May, we get Little Cities for the Quest platform, and I think this is a perfect entryway into the city building genre. Far less micromanagement, far less to worry about, but still with the tools to really build something that feels unique to you. Little Cities is a rather unique take on the city building genre, but it's a game that I found to be exceptionally relaxing and almost meditative when I played it myself. It's launching on the 12th, it comes from Dreams, and it looks like a great alternative to something like Cities VR. The final game launching on the 12th of May is a brand new racing game for PC VR from the developers at Zoxus. I can never say their name right because it's X-O-C-U-S. How do you pronounce an X when it's followed by an O? Would it be Zoxus? I'm really not sure. Now Zoxus, I'm going to call them Zoxus, are the developers of Z-Race, a game that's very, very similar to Wipeout in VR. You play it in a third-person perspective, and the goal is to get around the course as quickly as possible. Now Omega Pilot, which is their new game releasing on the 12th of May, is the same concept. It looks very much like Wipeout in VR, except this one is in first person. So I'm really, really intrigued here. I want to know how many people lose their lunch playing this high-speed, high-octane racer in first person in VR. It looks absolutely insane. If you're a fan of Wipeout, this is one to keep on your radar. If you can handle the motion sickness, the courses look very futuristic. It looks very much like F-Zero, looks very much like Wipeout in that regard. And yeah, I can't wait to see if I can play this one and not be sick just all over my desk, because I feel like that's going to be the end result of playing something like this. If you need more than just blade and sorcery to get your fix of chopping people into tiny, tiny little pieces, then good news. On the 26th of May, Swordsman comes to the Quest platform via AppLab. Now, I'm a big fan of Swordsman. It does things very differently to Blade and Sorcery. Whereas Blade and Sorcery throws you into quite large arenas and kind of gives you all the tools to pull off some crazy, wacky, over-the-top stunts, Swordsman focuses on far smaller arenas and tighter one-on-one or one-on-two combat scenarios. Swordsman also moves through the ages and decades and allows you to fight samurais, pirates, Vikings, knights, and all kinds of crazy historical figures. It's a really tight VR physics-based sword fighting game with a huge array of weapons, some gorgeous arenas. My favourite arena is actually a pirate ship where a kraken comes up and interferes with the fight. It's just crazy. I absolutely love it. But I'm really intrigued to see how this game holds up on the Quest. It's a gorgeous looking game on PC VR, but what's it going to look like on the Quest platform, and are we still going to get things like a kraken coming up and all the effects we have in the arenas? Only time will tell. Swordsman comes out on the 26th of May. Hey, remember when I asked you if you wanted to be a radio host? Well, how about a taxi driver? Yeah? No? Not sure? Okay. Well, The Last Taxi VR launches on the 31st of May, and it's a game that aims to do just that. Pop you in the driver's seat, as it were, as a cab driver, talking to the characters in the back of the taxi. Now, this isn't a crazy taxi VR game. You're not driving around trying to get to the locations as quick as possible. This is a slow burn, narrative heavy conversation simulator. You're talking to the characters in the back of the cab, trying to learn about them, building relationships, and trying to make sure they're comfortable on their trips. The game does have an overarching narrative and story that you need to uncover and solve the mystery of, but really, this is a conversation simulator. I think it's a very unique concept, but I know it won't appeal to everyone. If you've ever wanted to see what it's like to be a cabbie talking to those in the back of your car, then The Last Taxi VR comes out on the 31st of May. The next two projects we're looking at are both slated for May but don't have fixed release dates, so although they're coming out in the next 3 to 4 weeks, I can't tell you exactly when you'll be able to get your grubby little hands on them. Up first is Greenhell VR for PC. Now, we already have the Quest 2 version of Greenhell VR, and I'm a big fan of the Quest 2 version of Greenhell VR, but it is quite evident that they had to make some sacrifices to get that game running on the Quest platform. The areas that the game takes place in are a lot tighter, a lot smaller, and a lot more walled off. The game does a great job of tricking the player into thinking they're in a far bigger play space than they actually are, when in actual fact it is quite a linear game that pushes you through some fairly small areas. Now, from playing the PC VR demo, it was clear that at least the PC VR version was trying to be very, very faithful to the flat screen version of Greenhell. It looked like they were trying to convert that exact game into VR, so without any sacrifices and with all the big open spaces that Greenhell has. Now, if that's still the case, the PC version is going to be very different to the Quest version. I do have some reservations. After playing the demo on Steam Fest that they released a few months back, I found the game to perform very, very badly on my PC. Now, my PC is no slouch. I've got a 2080 RTX, I've got an i7 9700K processor, and I've got 32GB of DDR4 RAM, but the game for me ran really poorly. And looking at the feedback on Steam on the demos page, it seemed like that was the case for everyone. So my only hope is they've continued to optimize and just performance enhance this game as much as they physically can before release. I'm very excited to see how Greenhell on PC VR compares to the Quest version. I want a much nicer looking version, and I want something a little bit more open scale and a lot less linear, but time will tell. Greenhell should be launching for PC VR at some point this month. Oh my word, this next one is going to steal so much of my life if it runs well, and I'm pretty confident it will. Elden Ring is getting a VR mod. Luke Ross, the creator of the Red Dead 2, GTA, Mafia, and Cyberpunk mods, amongst some others, is now working on an Elden Ring VR mod. Which comes complete with a first-person mode, which is going to make the game even more terrifying and even more difficult than it already is. Now, I cannot wait to jump into this. Elden Ring is my favourite game of the last few years. I'm just going to say it. It absolutely blew all the expectations I had for it out of the water, and I'm already a huge FromSoft fan. But I completed it. I completed it again, and then I completed it again, so now I need a new challenge, and playing the game in VR with full gorgeous 3D and in first person is the challenge I'm looking for. I should have some impressions of this mod going live on the channel this Thursday. Haven't had a chance to play it yet, but I do have access, and I cannot wait to report my findings back to you all. The Elden Ring mod for VR is coming soon, hopefully very soon. My last game on this list of new VR releases for May is actually a mod, and it might not even be launching in May. I'm going out on a limb here and saying that this one feels so ready, it feels so close to being perfect, that I'd imagine it's launching within the next few weeks. Half-Life 2 VR is real, and it is phenomenal. This is a project that was greenlit on Steam a long time ago and then abandoned, and now it's been picked up by a team of very talented modders, finished, polished, and my word, is it one of the best VR experiences I've had in a long time. And that's saying something. One of the best VR experiences I've had in a long time is a mod of a game that's got to be about 15 years old or 11 years old. It's an old game, but it translates so beautifully to VR, with proper manual reloading, with physical crouching, with a fantastic Half-Life Alyx style weapon select menu. Half-Life 2 VR is incredible. It will be available for free via Steam when it launches. It will just be a download on Steam, and I can't wait for you all to go hands-on with it. I do hope it's out soon. It feels ready, fingers crossed. And yeah, here's hoping we see it this May. And that brings me to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. These are all the games that we currently know about that are coming out in May, or ones that I'm hoping are coming out in May in the case of the Half-Life 2 VR mod. It just feels so finished. It's got to be soon, right? Couple of weeks at most. I really hope so for your sake, because it's absolutely fantastic. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please do leave a like, leave a comment, and hit subscribe, and I'll see you soon for another one. As I say, I should be back on Thursday with some impressions of that new Elden Ring VR mod. I cannot wait to play it. Take care of yourselves. See you later.